Now I want to talk about the mode, which is finally getting us away from this idea of literally like a center to like this typical or common value that I see in the data, right? Because that's what we often talk about when I say, the average customer is this, or, the average student that gets through my course knows this much information or something, right? That's like the most common, right, idea when I say average. And that's the mode, right? So that's what the mode is. The mode is the most frequently occurring value in a data set. We actually already kind of talked about this when we talked about a modal class for frequency tables. Remember, that was the class that had the most observations in it. Well, now, instead of looking at a whole class of things, we're just going to look at individual values, and that'll be the mode. So, first thing I should point out is there could be one mode, which is usually kind of what we're hoping for, or at least in terms of trying to quickly get a homework problem done. There could be more than one mode, or there could be 0 modes. So let's go through those possibilities. And I should bring up this tip right here, that if we put the data in numerical order first, we can spot those repeated values very quickly, right? Because a mode will always be repeated somehow. So most frequently occurring value in a data set, where it at least appears 2 times, okay? Because that's the thing. That's when I have no mode, is when like my data is like 1, 3, 5. Well, now each observation only occurred once, so I would just say there's no mode. Otherwise, literally everything in the data set would be a mode, and that's definitely not a useful metric at that point. Okay, so in this first example, we've got 1, 1, 3, 7, 9. Now the number 1 appears more than once, twice specifically, and none of the other values appear more than once, so that's going to be my mode. Okay, 1 appears more often than any other values in the data set. In the second example, 1 appears twice and 3 appears twice, and nothing appears more than 2 times, so those are both going to be modes. I've got modes of 1 and 3. And in this third example, let's say I've just got all different numbers. I want to say there's no mode rather than saying every single number is a mode, which again is a completely pointless metric at that point. So I want to say that there's no mode. And specifically, let me say, if you were to ever, have to write this in some kind of, a report or an exam or something like that, I literally want you to write like no mode or none or something like that. I occasionally see people write this, okay? This means there is a mode and it's 0, right? That in other words, 0 appears more than any other value in my data set. That's completely different than there's no mode at all, right? So just be careful about that, and you'll be fine, because the mode's actually fairly easy to find and very easy to interpret, just the value that occurs most often in a data set.